officially starting our regular meeting. And please, if we may start with roll call.
Councilmember Hall.
Here.
Councilmember Moeller.
Here.
Councilmember Dornbecker.
Here.
Vice Mayor Chilton.
Here.
Mayor Dunbar.
Here. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next on our agenda, a closed session report. Do we have anything to report?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Members of the Town Council, the record should reflect that all 5 members of the Town Council were present in closed session to discuss one matter of potential litigation. There was no action taken and nothing required to be reported pursuant to the Government Code. That's my report from closed session. It's appropriate to continue with the open portion of the meeting.
Thank you. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adopt tonight's agenda if there are no corrections or changes.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Next up, we are moving on to a proclamation recognizing the French Laundry on its 20th anniversary. I'll invite Chef Thomas Keller to join me at the podium, and I'd like to make that presentation. Whichever. I can stand on this side if you like. Closer to the microphone. This is a proclamation recognizing the French Laundry on its 20th anniversary. Whereas on July 6, 2014, the French Laundry restaurant celebrated its 20th anniversary under the ownership and culinary artisanship of acclaimed chef Thomas Keller. And whereas the French Laundry restaurant originally commenced service in 1978 under the care of Don and Sally Schmidt, who had carefully renovated the building. And whereas Thomas Keller and a group of 60 original investors purchased the French Laundry on May 1st, 1994, and with the assistance of Laura Cunningham, guiding the dining room services, opened on July 6th, 1994, serving American food with French influences and technique. And whereas the French Laundry received its initial 4-star rating from San Francisco Chronicle food critic Michael Bauer on September 11th, 1994, and continues 20 years later to remain as one of the San Francisco Chronicle's top 100 Bay Area restaurants, which is no easy feat in the demanding restaurant field. Whereas the French Laundry has garnered acclaim from Forbes Travel Guide, earned the #1 ranking from Restaurant Magazine in 2003 and 2004, and remains on its World's 50 Best Restaurants, Best in the Americas list since 2003, and has garnered a prestigious 3-star rating from the Michelin Guide. Whereas Chef Thomas Keller and his employee team over the past 20 years have helped shape and establish and put Yountville on the map as the culinary capital of the Napa Valley and as an internationally acclaimed bucket list destination for gourmands and foodies. Whereas Chef Keller is not only a local restaurateur, but is a Yountville resident who has contributed to the community's social fabric with his involvement in a number of community-based efforts, such as the incredible Snack Shack at the Yountville Little League Canachero Field, support of Yountville Elementary School's Culinary Children's Garden, numerous PTA and Kiwanis fundraisers, along with a number of Napa County-based nonprofits, as well as the Veterans Home. Now therefore be it resolved, I, John F. Dunbar, on behalf of the entire Yountville Town Council and our community, wish to extend our hearty congratulations to the French Laundry on its 20th anniversary and our best wishes for continued success with the renovation of the French Laundry this winter and grand reopening in 2015. Congratulations.
Mayor Dunbar, thank you. Vice Mayor Chilton, Town Council, all the staff here in Yountville, thank you very much for this. Some of my team for coming down and support. As you know, and you've heard me say probably countless times, I am extremely privileged and blessed to have such an extraordinary opportunity here in Yountville and to have such an extraordinary team, not only with me today, but over the past 20 years. And thank you for mentioning Laura, because she was certainly a huge part of the success of our restaurant. I think, and Don and Sally Schmidt, thank you for recognizing them. And you think about the significance of one decision. And I think about that as it relates to Don and Sally when they came to this town, I believe in 1974, the significance of their decision to move here, the significance of their decision to buy the French Laundry, and everything that's happened after that. We all have opportunities to make decisions, and we don't know what the results of our decisions are going to be until we follow through and make the best of them. This decision for me to move to Yountville certainly was a significant decision and has meant so much to me because being part of this town has meant so much to me. People always ask me, why did you come to Napa Valley? And I always respond, I came to Napa Valley because the French Laundry was here in Yountville. And that's true. And to be here and to watch this restaurant grow through the efforts of so many others who made one significant decision to come here to Yountville to work has been extraordinary. We not only celebrated our 20th anniversary on Sunday, but we also celebrated on Monday night on a special occasion where we brought our alumni together. And to see some of these young individuals come, well, not so young anymore, but over 600 people came to spend time with one another. And the one thing that they had in common was that little corner of Washington Creek where the French Laundry is. And most of them aren't in the hospitality profession anymore. They have gone on to do many other things. But one thing that they all have in common is that restaurant, their time, was significant and has made an impact in their lives, so much so that they've come from all over the country back to this small town to share, not necessarily only with me, but to those who they worked with, to those who came before them, and those who've come after them. And it's our responsibility, and certainly my responsibility, to make sure that we're preparing our restaurant for the future. And I want to thank everybody here for supporting that vision into the future for the next 20 years. Our restaurant, and I call it our restaurant because I believe it is our restaurant. It is Yountville's restaurant. It is the legacy restaurant. It is the iconic restaurant of this town. And I feel fortunate and blessed to be part of that restaurant and part of this town. Thank you for giving me 20 years of great memories. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Knowing that's a hard act to follow, we are going to follow it anyway with a presentation proclaiming July as Park and Recreation Month. So, Samantha Holland, would you please join me at the podium? This is a proclamation designating July as Parks and Recreation Month. Whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the town of Yountville, and whereas our parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and a region. Whereas parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally or physically disabled, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. Whereas parks and recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. Whereas parks and natural recreation areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of the air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce habitat for wildlife. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. Whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month. And whereas the town of Yountville recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now therefore be it resolved that I, John F. Dunbar, Mayor, on behalf of the Town Council, do hereby proclaim the month of July as Parks and Recreation Month in the town of Yountville. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. So this is my 4th year accepting this proclamation here in Yountville, and I hope to be here for 16 more and get it again. I feel very lucky every day coming to work here, working for you and the citizens here, and having a terrific team. And our team in Public Works that helps to maintain and plan for our parks. It's really unparalleled what we have here in Yountville. The community center is bustling, and the parks are beautiful and amazing, and a lot of hard work goes into that. So thank you again for this and for your support.
Thank you very much. Thanks, folks. I just want to recognize on the entire council's behalf, Sam, that please share with your entire team. I know we have a lot of either part-time folks or folks who just can't be here to participate with you on this, but we all hear it all the time. Our parks, especially, people rave about how amazing they are, and certainly Public Works partnership with Park and Recs is really delivering great product and great assets to our community. So on behalf of Public Works, even though this isn't your month, thank you, and thanks to the whole team. Next up, we have public comment. If there's anything not on tonight's agenda that I'm very doubtful the public is going to speak to anything not on tonight's agenda, but now would be the time. Seeing none, we'll move right ahead to our consent calendar. We have 4 items. Are there any items for discussion, or is there action on the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
We have a trend going with our motions and seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have a presentation. Share the Care informational report. And I'll invite Yvonne Baginski to come up to the podium. And Billy, if you are part of the presentation, you're welcome to join her.
I'm just going to introduce Yvonne.
Great. Welcome.
My name is Billy Hewitt, 9 Landy Way, Yountville. I'd like to introduce Yvonne Baginski, who has been in the Valley several years. You may have seen her primary job in producing the Born to Age catalog and news article. You want to show that there? We have one for Napa and 4 other counties, right, Yvonne? Well, I became interested in seeing how we as neighbor to neighbor can help some of our elderly people, and got hooked up with Yvonne on a new project that she's working on, and she will tell you all about Share the Care. But before she starts, I want to say that some of us who just sort of started this here in Yountville and then got hooked in with Yvonne, we're already reading to a lady at the Veterans Home, and visiting a little Japanese lady over who lives all by herself, 92 years old. She thinks Google and Yahoo are the greatest things that have happened to this world. So that's how it reaches out. And Yvonne can explain the program further.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me speak here today. I'm glad to be here and introduce this new program to all of you. I've been in this valley for 23 years, and one of the things that I've done in my work is I've talked to a lot of people getting older. And I started putting out a directory because people said, we need information. But I'd go into the homes, and there would be that information sitting on the coffee table, and nothing would be done with it. So when the Gasser Foundation started talking about doing a new information and assistance program in the Napa Valley, I stepped forward and I said, what we really need? We need neighbors taking care of each other, because as government programs get cut back, as services get cut back, we're seeing a lot more older people living alone, and I get more calls from neighbors and friends saying, what are we to do next? What kind of services and resources are available? And we need to find out what resources and services are working and which ones aren't. So the Gasser Foundation gave us a grant, a 3-month grant, to start a Share the Care program, and the goal was to put a Share the Care hub in Calistoga, St. Helena, Yountville, Napa, and American Canyon. And we started this on March 4th. So our goal was to develop volunteers, neighbors in each community where people would go kind of as a resource person in that community for help. And we would send it out through the neighborhoods and through the mobile home parks and through the churches so that it would be somebody who would be recognized in that community as the person who would be able to connect them. And what we discovered when we started with this very ideal situation was that we got about 65 contacts the first 3 months. And what we discovered was the complexity of the situations were much more dear than what we would have originally thought. We found people who had been living alone for many, many years who were very disheveled in very demented states. We found people who didn't know how to access services because they had forgotten how to dial a phone. We found, I have made 5 reports to Adult Protective Services. I found 1 physical elder abuse. I found a financial fraud. And we have found 4 cases of self-neglect where people were so severely neglected that when I came into the home, they were lying on the floor and hadn't been able to get up for several hours, or were unable to get out of bed and had been sitting in a diaper. So we're seeing a lot more serious things than we originally thought. I know that whenever we start a program like this, we get kind of overwhelmed with the number of cases, and we're starting to, we've increased our volunteers. We now have about 9 solid volunteers. We've trained about 65 people who showed up for the initiation, but people tend to fall away and say, well, we'll come back later, or this seems to me need a little more time than we're willing to give. So we're hoping to continuously do initiations for volunteers and get a solid force of about 65 people throughout the county. I think we have a really good start. I know Billy's been really working very hard here in Yountville. In a small community like this, if there's any place where it can be made to happen, it would be this community. We are also having it in Calistoga. Our big Share the Care volunteer in Calistoga fell and broke his hip last week. So he called up, he says, well, I'm going to be needing a volunteer soon. I'm here at Kaiser going in for surgery. So, we're dealing with peer-to-peer, so we are dealing with an aging population who have aging neighbors as well. So I brought some information on the volunteer program. I brought some cards. There's 1 central phone number for people to call. And basically what we do is I go out and I do an assessment and see what's going on. And then after a conversation, we actually call and make the resource connections for them. We don't wait for them to call. And then a volunteer is assigned to follow up. So they make sure they come by once a week to make sure that the person's kind of following the protocol, getting the home-delivered meal and actually eating it, not putting it in the freezer, that the nurse actually visited, that they're taking their medications, that they're getting out and walking. So, we're seeing a way to build community, build a difference, and get neighbors to talk to each other. What really has come to a surprise for me was how many neighbors didn't even know each other in the block, because one of our first goals is to go and knock on the door and introduce yourself to your neighbors. And a lot of people were afraid to do that because they didn't know their neighbors anymore. So I brought some information, I brought some cards, and I brought some directories if you want to pass those around. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions from the council? I do know that, speaking to Billy, I guess a couple weeks ago now, we talked about one of the resources, nextdoor.com, that's a really active online service here in Yountville, because Yountville is all one neighborhood. So that's another way to get your word out and get the volunteer effort out and connectivity with the residents. So that's another resource.
The Nextdoor Neighbor is a wonderful resource. I use it extensively. I also recycle durable medical equipment and medical supplies off my front porch for the county. So there's 2 places to recycle. There's my front porch in Napa, and there's Ace Hardware up in Calistoga. And so a lot of people on Nextdoor use that information because people drop off and pick up medical supplies all day long at my house. I take a lot of stuff to the Wildlife Center, too. So.
Well, it's great that you're providing that kind of one-stop access to services that are already out there, and as well as connecting people that can and are willing to help. their neighbors and friends. So
Well, and we also found out what services aren't working or what services
True.
have been cut back, and it's been a real surprise for me. We had a man who was a 97-year-old man who was evicted last week out of one of the local retirement homes, and he was literally evicted on the street with no place to go, and there had been no legal process. And so it happened on Friday afternoon. And so what do you do for 3 days? So now he's going into the homeless shelter until they can find some place for him to live. But what we discovered was that Fair Housing no longer does evictions. So there was no agency to step in and protect him from being evicted. And at 97, you don't have a lot of options.
right. I think Billy was looking to say a little bit more also.
I wanted to thank Samantha, who did a questionnaire that was sent out in our water bill, plus it was sent to all the mobile home residents. And we're asking for that questionnaire to be returned to Samantha, or you can go online and take the survey. I'm sort of speaking to the home audience at this time. But it's wonderful, and we're very fortunate, aren't we, to have the town immediately behind us. And she had already been thinking, Samantha had already been thinking along these lines. So we're a step ahead of some of the other neighborhoods.
Great.
Yeah, we've had almost 50 responses to date of the survey, and what's nice is we're also collecting, we've had a lot of people say, I want to help, and so we're collecting their information to get in touch with Yvonne too, so I think we're going to have success here in Yountville with this kind of a concept.
Great. Okay, well, thank you very much, and we'll keep some of the materials here as well, as people can come and stop by. Could you just give us the phone number? You mentioned your direct contact information for folks that are listening at home.
It's 492-3198. And it's a nice, bright card. Can you see it from across
Oh,
the room?
yes. With my glasses on, I can even read it. Thank you very much, Yvonne, and Billy.
That's wonderful.
We are going to move ahead to item 12, which is our one administrative regular item tonight, modifications to the town standard street name sign. May we start with the staff report, please?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Tonight, we're going to provide you with the results of the community demonstration project. As you may recall, in February, you received an overview presentation on the street sign situation and the federal and state sign standards and retroflectivity, and I'm not going to go through all of that. But at that point in time, the council requested that we do a community demonstration project. Public Works crews put up a number of different signs, and the council eliminated a few initially that they didn't even want to see. And tonight we're here to share with you what the results of the 60-day demonstration period. First, I'm very pleased to say that our community did take the time to participate. We had over 125 people participate in our community survey project, and they were very willing to tell us what they liked and what they didn't like. And many of them actually expressed the appreciation for being asked. I will say that that was an interesting comment that was, thank you. We appreciate the fact that you're asking us. Interestingly enough, all of the demonstration sign options received some level of support. There were a number of people, and typically they were the most vocal, that preferred to keep status quo, regardless of the visibility issue. Some people did comment, though, on how hard the current signs are to read at night, and friends and visitors can't find them. Public safety did respond in comment that they preferred the tall posts because they can see them over and they're more traditional. Some people chose to design a completely different sign option than was one of those that was in the demonstration project, and we had a few folks that presented those. In general, what I would say is green was not the favorite color in the town of Yountville. People chose, the broader consensus was the brown background with the white lettering, and there was some strong sentiment that the classic, if you will, white sign with the black lettering, because it looked old and nostalgic.
And those are both on the wooden post as opposed to...
Correct. The end consensus was that, and I'm phrasing it this way, if we have to change, we would prefer the style that is most in keeping with the current wooden post with the brown background and white lettering. And the poll results were for what I'm calling the traditional post style, brown, 40%, keep status quo, 23%, tall post, and here was a surprise, this is the tall post with the white sign, was 21.5%. So you can see that there was some significance there, and then it dropped down to the tall post brown at 7.5%, traditional post white, traditional post green, and tall post. So the preponderance was the traditional post style using the brown. So what we're asking for tonight is some feedback and direction, and if you'd like us to proceed, we will bring back a technical design standard specification for this. We've already included money in this year's budget for the phase 1 of beginning to replace, and we will do these in a phase, going down the main thoroughfares first within the budget, and then obviously any replacement ones that need to be done in the interim would be done. So anyway, that's what we're looking for tonight. I'm very, very proud of the community. I think we had very significant turnout and a pretty strong result. So with that, we're seeking council feedback and direction, and then based on that direction, we will bring back for the consent calendar in August the design standard specification for our street name signpost.
And I'll just mention, for those people that have identified the locations, we're talking about the significant majority preferring the sign in front of Hotel Yountville.
That is correct. I'm sorry,
Intersection
that
of
is
Washington and California. That's the one we're talking about. And I suspect the entire council heard maybe some duplicates of the 120 or so, but I know we all heard some opinions out there. One other thing I just wanted to mention, and I know staff is already considering this, but I did have on two separate occasions, local residents requesting the ability to purchase the old signs in some type of process, whether that be a lottery system, that be an auction, whatever. But there's some interest in the nostalgia of the old signs, especially with particular streets and where they've lived for a number of years, that type of thing.
And one of the things that we will probably put together a program, and I think consistent with the 50th anniversary, that we will work on making that be a fundraiser for 50th anniversary activities.
Auction item.
So with that, any other questions or comments from the council about the staff report? And we have no members of the public in attendance, so with that, is there support to give direction to staff to proceed with the expectation of replacing as necessary, starting with the commercial corridor, the failing, I'll call them failing street posts with the traditional wooden posts with brown background and white reflective lettering?
Yes.
Yes.
Vice Mayor makes that motion.
Oh, yeah.
Minute order action would be appropriate.
Councilmember Dornbecker
Yes.
with that second on the minute order action.
I just have a question. I mean, just for the public, they know that we'll probably take this action, but do you have any kind of estimate how long it's going to take to really go through and replace everything so people don't have the expectation that next Monday morning everything's going to change and we forgot to get to their street or whatever?
No, thank you, Councilmember Moeller. This is anticipated to be a 3-year project based on funding, and the concentration will be on the Washington Street corridor, Yount Street, Madison, and Yountville Crossroad first, and we'll go as far as this year's budget allocation does, and then we'll also have a better opportunity to fully understand the cost and maybe adjust the budget to try and get it all done next year. But it's a phase thing, and it's not going to happen tomorrow.
And I believe staff's also considering at some key intersections, maybe adding a second sign in order to add visibility.
That is correct, and that's a component in your staff report that'll be part of the design specifications for the main thoroughfares.
Okay, and I just wanted, just because we just had this comment about our street signs and a member of the public has arrived, I didn't know if, Jeff, you wanted to speak on that issue?
Just wanted to listen.
Okay. Well, and you're welcome to be here. Thank you for coming. So with that, I think staff has...
There's a motion.
Yeah, that's
Second.
right. We didn't vote on it. That's right. So we had a little discussion. So without any further discussion, all in favor of the minute order action?
Aye.
Aye. That is approved unanimously. Thank you very much. And thanks, staff, for monitoring that survey, and thanks to all the folks that participated in that survey. Next up, we have a staff informational report, budget in brief. I think that's our one-pager color pie chart.
Yes, our two-sided,
Two-sided,
one
page.
page, general fund budget in brief. Where does the town's money come from, and how does the town spend the money it receives? And there's copies available here in the council chambers for the public. It's also posted on the finance page website. And if anyone wants extra copies to share with any groups or anything like that, just let me know, and I'm happy to provide them.
Thank you. Does the council have any questions? I find this is a great resource. It's so easy to see the revenues and expenses, and the public is certainly welcome to view those online as well, or come in and get a hard copy if necessary. So thank you very much. Any other informational reports from staff? Seeing none, we'll move on to council member meetings that need reporting out. Today, good news for the town of Yountville. The Flood Control and Water Conservation District approved $20,000 for $10,000 to manage vegetation and debris along Hopper Creek with the assistance of the California Conservation Corps, specifically clearing debris under 2 bridges along Hopper Creek, and also $10,000 to support a sediment removal project along Hopper Creek between Mulberry Street and Oak Circle. So that was good. Tomorrow we have the Napa County Transportation and Planning Agency meeting. That'll be the first meeting that I take over as chair of that board. Napa County League of Governments. Does anyone have a specific recollection from that meeting? I know we had a speaker that came and spoke on one effort to reform Proposition 13, especially as it relates to commercial taxation. It was informative. I think the County League of Governments had plenty of questions left over after the presentation, but it was certainly educational. It was nice to be hosted by St. Helena up at the Culinary Institute. I know Councilmember Moeller has a meeting that you want to report out on.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the board meeting for the Upper Valley Waste Management on June the 21st. Yes, I think that was correct. And this is our annual meeting where we set the rates for our trash service here in town. And after all the lengthy, complicated math that they have to kind of go through to do this, the rates actually decreased 2.2%. However, after we had that information, we also received a presentation about the Napa County Climate Action Plan and what they have planned to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from the landfill. And that project has a price tag of $7.5 million attached to it. And since that was the first that we really heard about that expensive of a change to the landfill, we the staff requested that we, instead of issuing the 2.5% decrease, that we bank the money so we could have time to really consider what this very large cost would do to our trash rates, and then we could come back and make some decisions at a later meeting. So the bottom line is for the next year, our trash rates will remain the same.
It's always good news. Thank you. Any other meeting.
I have a report.
Councilmember Hall.
Thank you, Mayor. So on June the 18th, I met in St. Helena with the Napa Valley Youth Gang Violence Commission, and we had technically two presentations, one for the diversion program, which is really focused up valley for St. Helena, Calistoga. Not too much of a surprise. Basically, they're bootstrapping these programs together, basically as a way to communicate to youth and underserved communities how to get together and what sort of programs are available to them. And then there was a presentation that was also given about Claro and Clara, which are challenging Latinos for resources and opportunities. That's two organizations, one for boys, one for girls, and they were both presented. There was actually something in the paper, I believe, today, and again, it's just another resource, an opportunity that's being put together throughout the county to support those youths and their potential issues and needs and opportunities. And then lastly, two more things. We discussed and finalized the annual report that goes to the Napa County Board of Supervisors. It will be presented on July the 22nd at the Board of Supervisors meeting, should you all be interested in reviewing. It's about see if I can count the pages here. It's about a 35 or 40-page document, which goes through and outlines what the primary issues are and also what the substantive sort of resources are in the Napa County for these particular underserved groups. The last comment I want to make about this commission today, for all of us here in the room, and I trust that the mayor will maybe take some action as we close tonight, is that apparently Charlie Rose passed away. He was the chair of the commission. He passed away on Thursday evening. Unbeknownst to me, I just received an email from it about that basically right before this meeting started. So sorry for his family and all of those who knew Mr. Rose. He was a very generous and giving individual of his time and service to this commission, but also to many others in the community. So I think the services will be tomorrow at Tula Cay. But that's it.
Friday, actually.
Pardon me, Friday. Isn't it Thursday?
Friday, there's a 1 o'clock viewing and 2 o'clock memorial service at Tula Cay Cemetery.
Yeah, so my condolences to his family.
Yeah, I work with Charlie with the Pathway Home in particular. He was extremely helpful and knowledgeable about especially some technical, legal, and healthcare issues that he really championed. And I know he was very involved in the Wolf Center board as well. So it's a very surprising loss to our entire community, and our thoughts go out to his family. So thank you for mentioning that. Any other announcements from the council? If not, I will just kind of go back in time a little bit. I want to thank all the town staff, the Veterans Home, and anyone else that was involved in the Independence Day Festival and fireworks. I know it feels like it's been a while, but since we didn't meet the beginning of the month, thank you again. There were so many people that come and enjoy that. It was a beautiful night, and it really went off very nicely. So thanks for that. Also, tomorrow, actually right now, there is a gala kicking off, the Napa Town and Country Fair. I always miss it because the gala's on Tuesday, and they always ask the board to be there, and I need to opt for this commitment over that one. But tomorrow through Sunday, a new carnival vendor is there. They are bringing back bull riding. They have demolition derby. They have live entertainment throughout the day. They have all things fried to eat, as all fairs do. So and the cost of the tickets are really quite reasonable. So it's big fun is the theme this year. So go out and have some big fun. And also, speaking of big fun, the town manager and I were two of the local folks that participated in the Bastille Day ceremony or festival party outside of Bouchon Restaurant on Sunday. And there was some mayor violence as Mayor Jill Teckle from Napa came up and proceeded to dunk me. Nobody stayed dry, but it was, I just wanted to recognize again the Thomas Keller Restaurant Group for supporting community and kids, and in particular the proceeds that were raised from the dunk tank are going to the Yountville Elementary School Children's Culinary Garden effort. So thanks to them and for everybody that supported that effort. Those are the last announcements I have. So We have no additional, Councilmember Dornbecker.
You reminded me on the 4th of July, once again, I was happy to work with the Yountville Women Veterans up at the home on their booth and sell raffle tickets for them. And it was a great day, and I really enjoyed the music, especially the Dinglings. And they are the people who are bell ringers, and they did a great job. Anyway, it's always a great day, but that day in particular was wonderful. I'm kind of glad they moved that piece of it till later in the day. We used to start setting up at 9 a.m. But anyway, it was a great time.
Great, thank you. We've already covered our closed session with no reportable action that we met earlier this evening, so now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to our next regular council meeting of Tuesday, August 5th at 6 p.m.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Hall. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. See you next time. Good night.